Hello, everyone, and welcome to SMPG.
Episode 13.
I am Sarah.
I am Pierre. I don't know why she's doing hand signals, but sure.
I speak with my hands,
Yes, we know.
so if you have
But
a
that one
problem
didn't
with
make it.
that,
Okay.
you can catch
Apologies.
these hands. Okay?
Sure. I play basketball before I can catch. Shoot. Okay.
So,
Today's
yes,
topic.
we are going to talk about today a video that we saw online, and we know very little of it, but I think that's the idea. That's the concept. Based on the image, the immediate image that we're seeing, right? Um, what is going through our heads, through our minds, right? So I seen the video and I shared it with Pierre. So
I think we should either attach
describe
the
it.
video to the thing that we're doing or describe it. So I'm going to try to describe a little bit on what I saw.
Yes.
So it was a very short video of a woman getting arrested by the police in front of her daughter. There was also a screenshot or two before that showing that one of the officers pulled a gun in front of the woman while being arrested and the daughter being right in the vicinity of that woman. And I think that's something that is very important to talk about.
So I think so the description of the video, like Pierre says, there is a child, and I want to be specific because yes, it is a daughter, but this is a child. This has to be maybe a 3-year-old toddler. Um, and for context, the woman and the child were of African American descent, and the cops were Caucasian. Just so that you can have a picture in your head. Um, because this is an image that we're speaking about. So I can tell you what I thought when I saw the video initially, and then I'll tell you what I thought about the following day. Because, again, I didn't look any further. All I did was just look at the video, hear the person in the video that's recording, right? Because I think you have someone narrating what's going on, right? And you're going by what they're saying, right? The eyewitness accounts, right? So when I first saw the video initially, I think I had like my initial response was anger, because I thought in my head like, why would they tell that woman, and that little girl to get on the ground? Right? Like, could you not have, like, try to put the little girl, like, in the cop car or something? Like, I don't know, right? So, but because I don't know what the circumstances were, I started thinking about, and this was an overnight thing, again, initial response was anger. Like, how could you do that? Like, you don't pull out a gun. There's a child around. You don't want the child to be scared. Blah blah blah. Right. I then went to sleep. Woke up the next day, and I'm still thinking about this video because I'm sick like that. Uh, and what I started thinking about is like, okay, what were the circumstances? And then I thought about the child itself. The child at age 3, Caden, for example, would mimic anything and everything that he saw, right? Either at that time I had a boyfriend, I remember him like taking a pillow and laying on the ground with the pillow here, like in his shoulders, to watch TV. And I remember Caden grabbing a pillow and putting it in between himself, doing whatever he was doing, right? So in my mind, what I thought was like, well, I don't know what the circumstances were, right? But did the cops tell the child to get on the ground? I doubt it. I doubt that was the case. I believe the little girl will probably
And
have seen her mom, right?
so she did it too.
Get on the ground, and she's hearing the demand as well. So she's like, well, I got to do what my mom is doing, So I think like that was that's what I came up with, right? And then I also thought about, well, what took place for that to happen, right? Again, we don't know. I have no clue. I have no idea what the circumstances of the case is. I don't know if she got caught shoplifting. I don't know if she just stabbed somebody. I don't know if it's, the wrong person that they pulled over. If she even got pulled over. I don't know. I don't know what the circumstances are. I don't know. I don't know if she just hit and ran somebody. I don't know, you know what I mean? I don't know if this is her kid and she kidnapped. I don't know. I have no idea. So because I don't know that, right? I stopped being angry and I started thinking more of, well, what were the circumstances of that situation? Like I wish I would have seen a little bit more
The whole scenario, the whole
to be
situation.
able, like, from beginning to end.
I agree, and that's a very good way of looking at it because I'm gonna take another side, which is I have a lot of friends who are in law enforcement. Some of them, unfortunately, passed away during being in law enforcement, all types of ethnical backgrounds, and it is a dangerous job, right? I'm not defending the actions, what happened. Again, we need to see the full concept. If this was a court of the law, they would have asked, what was the scenario? They were looking at the body cams, right? Those are the things that really would count. How was the arrest made, and then could have been avoided certain things.
And I have a
Actually,
feeling that it was a taser.
it was a taser that was at the.
I think it was a taser.
Okay,
I don't know if it was a gun. I gotta look at the video
gotta
again.
look at the video again. All
Yeah,
right.
because I'm like, I
So,
think it. I think it was a taser.
there's a lot of things to ask because I wrote a lot of things about that. Like, was the arrest based on legal grounds, right? Did they follow protocol to make that arrest, right? And then obviously, I saw that the lady was not resisting the arrest. That was one positive thing.
And
But
they were
obviously,
yelling.
could have been, yes, but there was not much of a really resistance to the arrest. But my problem, again, with the scenario, the biggest problem is the child, okay?
Yeah.
Obviously, the child, we don't know how old the child is, but then is that going to have sign of trauma, distress on the child for the incidents? Where was CPS at the time of that arrest? You know what I mean? Because they're supposed to be involved. And when the police is involved with children, CPS should be automatically involved. They should have
Yeah,
been
but see, that's not how it works
in the
when
arrest
there
part.
it yeah, when at the moment of the arrest,
CPS is
if
not there.
they feel, if the cops, have to take, what they do initially is reach out to a family member where the child's going to be safe, right? And then if again, we don't know what the circumstances are. We don't know what the mom was doing, that she was getting arrested. And like you said, she wasn't resistant. So it's not like she was asking, what did I do, or anything like that. So it tells me that she was doing whatever, you know. Or she could just be one of those people. I speak nothing until I see an attorney, right?
Right, right.
So what they would do is, if they find like the child is in danger, then they call
CPS. Okay.
CPS.
Okay. See, Ali McBeal over here. Yeah, I think it wasn't a good thing to look at.
Yeah.
And
How did it make you feel? Like when you first saw it?
I wasn't angry. I was just like, okay, that's it. That's why I noticed that there were more things. I went back and looked at the pictures. Okay, somebody's getting arrested. There's a child around. I didn't see that second cop until I went to the pictures and saw the second cop that had the gun or taser, whichever case maybe. And I was like, okay, that doesn't add up. I see Lydia in cuffs. That gun should not be pulled out. This gun should either be on your side or back on its holster because the lady was already in handcuffs. Why is there something pulled out? But my other problem is that, again, my question that came to my head was not even about the arrest or the condition of the arrest. It's about the child. What's going to happen to that girl? Because I don't see nobody else but the three people and up to four in that scenario. Where's the child's father?
He's
Who?
working.
I understand. But again, I guess maybe that's, like we talked about the previous episode, maybe because of my fatherly instincts, like something's going down, why am I not there? That always bothers me when things go on with my family, I guess. Why I'm not there when it comes to my children. I don't know.
I can't find the video.
What? You can find, I got the video.
So let me see the video again, because I just want to see.
That's crazy.
Oh, so this is the end of it.
But there was no videos with the pictures before.
Yeah. So you see like the little girl's like begging or.
Let's try
My thing is, okay, so like, say for example, like the cop is holding. Okay, so it is a gun. It is a gun. So the cops see the baby girl on the ground. So for me, is a thing of why isn't anyone? Because there's two cops. Why isn't anyone grabbing the baby girl and saying, "Baby girl, you do not have to be on the ground."
Exactly my point.
That's the part where like I blame the police, right? As far as like improper
And actually, there's
protocol.
two more other officers while he's doing the arrest. One walks in the building, another one is standing there looking at him. There's two other cops in the background.
I didn't even see. Let me see.
Look, there's one officer going inside the building, and there's one sitting right there.
So no, but that one in the one that's going inside the building, that's the one that was pointing the gun at her at the beginning of the.
Okay, and what about?
That's him.
Yep, and what
But
about
now
the other
stop.
one that's there the whole time?
No, that one I didn't see, but I'm talking about him.
Well, there's
He's
three.
the one you see.
Three.
He walks to the. So there's three. There's not four.
Yeah, that's three. So again, so that's the same guy went in the building. You think?
Yeah, that is. You
Okay.
don't see him?
The same guy went to the building, and then the other guy stayed in the corner the whole time. Was he afraid of the cameras? I don't know. We can't talk about these things because that's. And I do believe again. I'm not saying that talking about things like this are not important, but it's so dangerous to talk about things like this because dangerous in what sense? Not everybody's a journalist. A couple of seconds video could be so and it has.
Yeah,
Oh
sure.
my God.
Yeah, and then the post says "F the police." That's what it says, right? So like, again,
I'm not I'm not anti-police. We do need law enforcement in our lives because I am not gonna be fighting every single war there is. I'm sorry, but
I mean, of course, Have you ever had an experience with a police officer before?
in that sense or any sense,
sense.
always. You know how many times I've been pulled up by the police? A lot.
Pulled up.
Yeah.
So you've been pulled over a lot by cops?
In
Why?
New York, in Jersey, and in Boston, I never got in trouble. I was respectable. I asked what they gave her. I'm not saying that there aren't scenarios. Of course, there has. I've seen some of them. But even if I was to be in a scenario like this, I would never put myself in a position to end up in the worst. Now, I know there are extreme cases. I'm not talking about those things. But I've never been disrespectful to anybody. I know they're doing a job, and I know, thanks to my friends, the risk, because I've seen certain things that I wasn't supposed to see. One of my friends, he's a state trooper, and I'm not going to be too much detail, but a guy just pulled a guy for the right reason, and he got in the police officer. Somebody came around the car because they were obviously hiding something. They didn't have any chance to get to it, and the guy was killed on the spot. There is there.
Friend?
No, the other officer. The other officer
was killed.
on the spot. They take their lives are at risk too. Unfortunately.
Of course.
So there's abuse and there's mistreatment on both sides. It's a two-side problem. It's not just the law enforcement. It's also us as people who don't know how to handle certain situations or not being raised or trained properly. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, no, I feel like I get where you're trying to come from. I can say that I've experienced certain things with law enforcement, but I think one one thing that sticks out to me was a situation where I was out with a group of girls for a group of colleagues from where I used to work a long time ago. And we went to this bar and we had a great time. And I am the friendliest drunk you'll ever meet. And I wasn't drunk, but I was, tipsy. I was still able to drive, but I was still very friendly. Like that's just the nature. I'm friendly in general, but I'm super friendly when I'm drinking. So I remember next to the bar, there was a parking lot that was unpaved. So people would still park the car there, but there was like construction things everywhere. And I remember like walking by myself to my car. The girls were not from the town, from the city. They were going elsewhere. So I was just like, oh, don't worry, I'll be fine. My car's right here. So as I'm walking to the car, I noticed there was a girl who I know from town, and we're nice, you know. So when I saw the girl, I approached her. Hey, how are you? How you doing? How you been? And we were chatting it up. But again, he was clearing out the parking lot. So he was like, everybody get to their car. Everybody get to the cars. Now, you got to understand, I am a woman. The ground of the parking lot was unpaved. So my heels
We're getting stuck.
were kept digging in the dirt. So as I'm walking to my car, this police officer is like, he like got extremely close to me. Like he was just like, come on, get going, get going. He thought that I was like taunting him maybe because I was walking slow, so I didn't bust my butt on the ground. He pushed me with his chest. So what I did, I think as any human on the planet would, I braced myself. I held on to him so I didn't fall. That's it. Assault and battery on a police officer.
Wait. When he hit you, what you said? Was he facing you or behind you?
No, because like he was close. He was close to me,
On one,
but
on
he
the
eventually
side?
he made it in front of me.
And then
So like I'm walking and I'm like, oh my heels are digging on the ground. Like I'm not, trying to taunt you or whatever. Cause I was speaking. And he's like, come on, get going. And I'm like, I'm going, like, get out of my way. Like, come on. But, when he pushed me, for me, it was more of a, like, oh, he wants me to fall. Like, I'm like, you want me to fall. You know what I mean? So I grabbed on and I remember grabbing like
his shirt.
Here.
He had a vest on?
Yeah, he did. He had a vest on because I remember it wasn't like I was touching like, skin and t-shirt. Like it was thick, girthy, So I held on and I'm like, so when he grabbed me and arrested me, I was very vocal in like, how do you do this? How do you arrest me for you pushing me and me holding on to you? Like that makes sense to you? So he got progressively angrier. And then I got bailed out the same day, whatever. I went to court and everything got dismissed.
Before even the court started?
No, I went to court, I said. I went to court and everything got dismissed. I told my attorney, I said, this is what happened, A, B, and C. The funny thing about that is, a few years later, that cop was fired for drunk driving or something like that. And he, like, part of what you read in the story, because this was in the newspaper, part of it was like his abuse of power. What hurt me most about it was that he was Latino, just like me. But when he did the paperwork, he put me as African American. He put me as black. And realistically speaking, I thought he was Caucasian because he looked Caucasian. The only reason why I found out was because I know a prosecutor and I reached out to them and I was just like, A, B, and C happened. And he's like, oh no, he's Colombian. So that for me was like, wow. Right. But what that did for me as a person was look at things so differently, right? So we're looking at this film, right? And remember I said earlier, is an African-American woman on the floor.
Mm-hmm. So we automatically think that it could be some type of bias already.
And Caucasian, right?
Yep,
but we don't know that.
Well, at least
they could be Cuban.
Yeah, but at least you and I'm not saying we're the smartest people, but at least what was the first thing we said? We didn't go for that first.
Exactly.
Because we know we're doing something about parenting, so we went for the children.
Correct.
That's what we care about. I mean, we care about people too.
Of course.
But kids come first.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So yeah, I mean, I've had experiences that have, made me look at law enforcement in a different way. But I've also had positive experiences with law enforcement. Yeah. So like I'm more of like in the middle.
Of course.
I'm more of like I do feel like when certain things go wrong, it has to be looked at. People have to be retrained. I do not, and I feel so strongly about this, I don't feel like a veteran that isn't mentally evaluated should be put out in society
As far as law enforcement, I
with a
agree.
weapon.
Agreed.
I feel strongly
I think
about
there
that.
should be periodical evaluation because over time, a job like this does affect you. It's
I
kind of like the
agree.
guy that's a mine worker, the guy that works on buildings.
I agree.
The lawyer
I agree.
himself, certain jobs, even in the medical field that we've been in, you know what I mean? After a while, some people get affected by the things that they see. We're all
Yeah.
human. Certain things you're not supposed to survive or supposed to be in them for that long. It's kind of like me. I mean, it's probably not as
We
big.
do it every year. Every year, there's like some sort of, most companies do it. They'll do like a training and you have to go online and you do it or whatever. And I think it should be the same for, I think public service jobs should be the hardest jobs to get into. And I don't think just because, oh, you're a veteran, you should get priority, because that's the case.
That's the case,
That's just
yep.
how it is, right? So, and not to say like I have anything against veterans. My uncle's a veteran. He just retired after 20 something years in the military. Like, what I'm saying is like mental evaluations should be had. I think it's so critical. You can't just give somebody a weapon just because they know how to handle the weapon.
There's other factors to consider. I agree.
There's so much more to consider, especially if they gone to several tours. You know what I mean? Like, that's important.
Yep.
So I again, the video is subjective because we don't know all of it, but I did look at it more of like the woman, like, what did you do to put your child in that situation? Like, you know what I'm saying? But also the adults, cop or not. Why isn't anyone grabbing that baby out of there? Why isn't anyone saying, no, baby, you don't have to do that? So I saw lack of protection. I saw lack of understanding.
Lack of human decency.
So that now, right, even after we're talking about it, it makes me more sad than anything to see the video, because something like that is possible. you know so yeah. What do you feel about it, even after like discussing? And
Now, again, it brings back I guess, I understand the sadness for me. I'm, there is always, and again, not that can't face it, there's always a fear when it comes to children for me. That's why I'm going to say something. I think I said it before in our personal, not in the show. I will always protect and respect my kids, but I'm even more scared of other people's kids because I know how I feel about mine. When I see somebody else's children either being mistreated or not being respected, it troubles me because that could be my kid.
exactly.
So when I'm in a situation, that's why I'll give an example. Like in the example in last episode, you talk about your daughter, how you were being overprotective of her, even though by blood it's not your daughter, but it's the same thing. I took my my son to one of the water worlds. We had fun. It was me and him. But even though I'm in a world, there's a bunch of children, I try to stay with my son and my people only, just because I don't want to see anything I don't want to see because it's gonna piss me off, and I'm gonna feel some type of way, and I'm gonna want to leave. I'm gonna act on certain things because I know how it is when I'm around my children.
Yeah.
So to see something like this, it's again,
Triggering.
it's not triggering per se, but it's like it brings those instincts back where I'm like, okay, I can't say anything, but I'm like, it's not something I want to see on a daily basis. I watch it maybe twice. I can't watch this thing 10 times. It's gonna piss me off. You know what I mean? It's sad, but it makes me angry, and it's like I'm not gonna be in that situation. Remember what we talked about this in one of our episodes. As a parent, it is my responsibility to make sure my kids are never in that position. I can't always be there, but if I'm there, I goddamn well make sure that my kids are protected.
Exactly. That's 100% true. 100% true. Yeah. Do you have anything else to say on the video?
No,
Or
no, we can pass this one
yeah.
unless you want to act. No, I don't like this one.
This was an uncomfortable.
It's not uncomfortable. It's
It was
not a.
for me.
It was for you.
Yeah, it was. It was uncomfortable for me because again, I've had experiences and I know how it feels to be treated unfairly by someone who is paid by you to protect you. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got you.
Like
Like, is this what I'm paying for?
yeah, like you know what I mean? It's like it's very difficult. And then I also, like you said, like I look at things and I think about my son. My son is 17 right now. My son hesitates to want to even get behind the wheel because he sees what goes on television, right? So like, and my baby's black.
Yep.
You know, he's Latino, but he's also Jamaican, right? So like, for me, there's this fear. You can't see the Japanese in my kid.
No, you
You
can't.
can't see it.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have
The luxury.
that luxury to be, you know, in a car at his age with locks in his hair and look a certain way and a cop pull him over just because he fits a description. You understand what I'm saying? So like, it's extremely uncomfortable for me because as a mom, like, mentally I think about those things and I say to myself, like, I know what I'm capable of. You know what I'm saying? And like, I wouldn't ever want that to be something, you know, that takes place to anybody. Anybody. But like me, I have to get a 360 camera for a car for him. I got to make sure he's fully protected. I got to make sure that he's not able to reach absolutely nothing. So I'm like plotting this entire thing in my head where I'm like, okay, I'm going to make sure like his registration, his license and everything is right there. You don't have to reach, baby. So right there. You know, to have to sit down and have a conversation with my son about, hey,
Let's be honest. What's going on really around us? Yep.
you know, if you were ever in this circumstance, you can't get away with the same thing that most of your friends could get away with, because most of his friends are
Different ethnicities.
Caucasian. Let's be realistic, right? So, and I don't. My nephew's white, like, you know. So, my nephew's life experience is gonna be different than my son's life experience. That's just because that's what society has built. That's what we see. So, of course, it's uncomfortable. Of course, to see something like that, to see a baby be in that predicament, a woman be in that predicament, and nobody really just like looking at the big picture and saying, "Wait a minute, this is
The same, right?
there's a baby here." But thank you guys for watching. We need to end this episode before we drive ourselves crazy.
Yes, we will.
Thank you so much. Remember to follow, subscribe,
Like,
share your
share, comment.
stories, tag whoever you think has a really good story, or you know, any single parent, or even if you were raised by a single parent. Because I think sometimes we look at it, because sometimes you could be married, you know, and have a partner, but you yourself were raised by a single parent. We want to hear that story. We want to hear, you know, how that was for you. And we appreciate the people that are watching, and are commenting and liking. We appreciate it a ton. So, anything from you?
No.
No.
Let's get out of here.
All right.
Peace.
Bye.